patient and mishandled prescription drugs. Casey is serving a 1-year suspension after reporting himself to the Iowa Board of Physician Assistants for an inappropriate relationship with a patient outside the clinic, but he's applied for a license reinstatement. A hearing on that is set for July 17th. The lawsuit filed on Friday alleges Casey began texting the woman, and the two developed a relationship after he started treating her at a Unity Point clinic in November 2017 for panic attacks, depression, and other illnesses. Casey pleaded guilty last year to misdemeanor charges of obstructing a prosecution and unlawfully possessing Adderall. He was sentenced to probation. The lawsuit alleges Casey, age 32, improperly administered oxycodone to the woman outside of his practice. A Fort Dodge man has been arrested after an early morning robbery Monday of a convenience store. Police say they were called shortly after 1 o'clock Monday morning to the New Star Mini Mart at 1923 Fifth Avenue South. The suspect, 19-year-old Dakota Remy, was accused of displaying a weapon and taking an undisclosed amount of money from the store. Remy was taken into custody on Monday afternoon and was charged with first-degree robbery, going armed with intent, and trafficking stolen weapons. He's being held in the Webster County Jail. If convicted of the 3 charges, he could face up to 45 years in prison. Fort Dodge police are continuing their investigation into shots being fired during an incident on Monday afternoon. Police say a person called in saying that someone in a white van shot at them in the area of the Tudor block of North 10th Street. Officers later located a white van in the area of 1st Avenue North and 13th Street. Fort Dodge police say they did remove 3 pellet guns from inside that van, but no charges directly related to shots being fired has been filed. The driver of the van, Daniel Freeman of Fort Dodge, was charged with driving with a barred driver's license. Police say the case remains under investigation. Webster City has hired a new city manager. Jeffrey Sheridan currently is the town manager of Lowell, Indiana, and has over 25 years' experience in local government in Indiana. Callahan Municipal Consultants was hired by the city back in March to conduct a search for a new city manager after Daniel Ortiz Hernandez resigned last summer to take a position in California. 22 people applied for the job, with 9 candidates being interviewed and 3 finalists being chosen last month. The council approved Sheridan's hire at their meeting on Monday night with an annual starting salary of $115,000. He'll begin his new duties on August 26th. The state of Iowa collected over $500 million more in taxes during the last 12 months than during the previous fiscal year. OK Henderson with more.
Fiscal year 2019 for the state of Iowa ended Sunday. Preliminary figures indicate tax revenue growth was ahead of expectations by nearly $100 million. In total, the state of Iowa took in more than $9.3 billion in taxes and fees during the past 12 months. Officials say it's hard to estimate how much of the tax windfall is due to higher wages in Iowa and how much is due to a change in a state income tax deduction. Iowans get a deduction on their state income taxes for federal income taxes paid. That deduction has declined because of the tax cuts enacted at the federal level. The phased-in state income tax cuts Republican lawmakers approved in 2018 started to take effect in January of this year, halfway through the state's fiscal year. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley says U.S. agencies on the southern border are becoming really strained by trying to accommodate the skyrocketing numbers of immigrants. Grassley, a Republican, says the dramatic increase in immigrants is resulting in a corresponding rise in cases of their exploitation and death.
We must do more to enforce our immigration laws, but we must also meet the humanitarian needs on this ongoing crisis.
Grassley says he joined the majority of his colleagues last week in voting for legislation designed to bring relief to the beleaguered masses on the U.S.-Mexican border. Grassley says he's supporting civil bills aimed at keeping migrant families together and to prevent the abuse or exploitation of children who arrive at the border unaccompanied by an adult. And the June survey of business leaders in Iowa and 8 other Midwestern states signals positive growth for the region over the next 3 to 6 months. Ernie Goss, an economist at Creighton University, says while things are starting to pick up after several down months, international trade troubles continue to cloud the regional and national outlooks. Says tariffs restrict buying from abroad, and a lot of the supply managers are finding it more expensive to buy from abroad. Goss says the hiring for the region's manufacturing sector for June was up significantly.
The number one challenge over the next 12 months is finding and hiring qualified workers due to almost record low unemployment rates in most of the region. 40% of the supply managers indicated that was their number one challenge.
Still, according to the June survey, better than 71% of supply managers supported continuing current tariffs on China or even raising them. That's a look at local news. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. High of 86, west winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again. Tonight, lows level off around 69. Overcast. More clouds than sun. Tomorrow, chance for isolated storms. Highs level off around 86. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now, 87.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when our services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call us for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Hi, this is Anna Smith, your bilingual real estate agent with Neighborhood Realty. Did you know the average person moves 5 times over their lifetime? If it's moving time for you, Neighborhood Realty is ready to help sell your home quickly and professionally. We know the area, the market, and we have a growing number of agents working as a team to get your home sold. But that isn't what's most important. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Para vender o comprar su casa, llame al 515-576-2102 or visit us at neighborhood-realty.net.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Yes, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. I don't even want to call myself the doctor of truth anymore. I just am the truth, the embodiment of truth. All right, I won't be with you after today until next Tuesday. I want to tell you that right away. So spread the word among our many radio listeners and friends that I'm taking a little time off over the 4th. I hope everybody has a great time. I plan on having a great time. I have heard fireworks at night. I actually made a call the other night. I'm sorry to say that Chief Roger Porter can't be here today. I don't know what happened to him. He had something come up. I'm sure it's legitimate. And Roger's the type of guy who always feels bad when he can't get here and has to cancel the day he was supposed to be here. But I've assured him, Chief, I can talk for 20 minutes, so that's what we're going to do. Anyway, I hope we can keep our head with fireworks this year. I have an invitation to go over to a friend's and have a little barbecue and shoot some fireworks. I intend to do that. And I hope there's a lot of those things going on in our city. But let's not be fools about it. I mean, we embarrassed ourselves a couple of years ago when fireworks were first legalized. I don't know what people were thinking being out like that, blowing up the whole town. Let's not have this. Let's not have that this year. Let's not, as a point of pride in ourselves and in our town, let's not have that kind of block-headed foolishness. And certainly don't drink and shoot fireworks. Don't drink and shoot fireworks. Okay. I hope that's the case. Again, I called in a complaint, what was it, night before last? I don't know. Maybe it was over the weekend. Somebody was dropping some gigantic bombs over by Old North Junior High. So I called it in. And, it stops for the night. I mean, I started hearing them about 10 o'clock at night. I called the police department, and a few minutes later, they stopped. So I imagine they saw the police car, or even better, the police caught them and gave them a big old fat ticket. I'm going to use fireworks. I have, you bet. Buy yourself some fireworks. Have a good time. That's what the 4th of July is for. Celebrate the independence of our nation, our system of government, our free enterprise system of government, the freedom that we must insist on. We cannot let those on the right or left dilute our freedoms, and they want to, believe me, because what they want is power. Just as an aside, I know the Democrats think they have a chance to unseat Joni Ernst. They really are targeting the Senate. They've got the House now. They want to target the Senate. They think that Trump and this border wall thing is such a big deal. And these concentration camps. Yes, they're concentration camps. People are being marched into gas chambers. That's a concentration camp. A detention center is not a concentration camp. Great picture of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez down inspecting the border with the, the Hispanic caucus.
She was yelling for the cameras. And the cameras, a couple of the cameramen backed up and showed she was yelling at a parking lot, an empty parking lot. So the whole thing is for the cameras mainly, and to stir up outrage as far as Donald Trump is concerned. I would like to know their idea. Come on, Alexandria Cortez. What would be your solution to the border crisis? Because I want to tell you, the Democrats who are running for president last week gave you their solution. They would get rid of the border. They haven't come right out and said it. But when you have an old head like Joe Biden saying on national television, if there is an illegal, someone who snuck into our country illegally and is living here as an illegal alien, Joe Biden said they shouldn't be bothered. They should not be arrested. They should not be apprehended. That, folks, is open borders. Do you want open borders? Do you want open borders? That's the question. Call me, 515-955-1400. I won't argue with you. See, I got this wrong from the start. You know, with talk show hosts, you're supposed to provoke the audience, then agree with them when they call you in. I always argued with the callers. It's a fault I have. We have a bee controversy in our town. Apparently, there were some complaints about a young girl who was keeping bees in our community. Well, I didn't think that was much to complain about. Frankly, and I posted this somewhere on social media, I'm allergic to bee stings. Years and years ago, in the late 1970s, after I'd already served 4 years active duty in the military, I was in the National Guard for a year, and we used to train up at Camp Ripley or something up in northern Minnesota. We were out in the woods and a bee stung me, and it nearly killed me. This medic came along finally, and she didn't know what to do. But Frank, I'd had medical training when I was in emergency medical training when I was in the service. I grabbed her bag, went through it. I found what was, we didn't have EpiPens then, but I found some Benadryl, injectable Benadryl, and saved my own life. So in the raging controversy over whether this young girl should be allowed to keep her beehives in our city limits, I mentioned that, yes, I don't always carry an EpiPen with me. And I might have a problem if the bees were in my neighborhood, which they are not. I might petition the council. And she's no doubt an industrious young girl, have no problem with what she's doing at all. I just think these things should be done safely. Well, it came down to, and this is the drama that goes on in people's minds all the time. All of a sudden, a young girl and the bees were being oppressed. There was bee oppression in the city of Fort Dodge. We cannot have that sort of thing. We cannot have the bees be oppressed by evil white men. Well, like me, I guess. I posted on the bee controversy Facebook page about not always carrying an EpiPen, and I was frankly rebuked by someone who said, yes, since you choose not to carry an EpiPen with you at all times, you must bear responsibility. Like, this was the moral question of the day. These people take themselves so seriously. They are social justice warriors. They're working for equality. They're working for no such thing. Social media is all about aggrandizement. Did I say that right? Aggrandizement, yes. Now I contacted on Messenger service on Facebook Councilman Nevin Conrad, who I regret isn't on the show. And I told him, and Nevin's posted a little while ago that, yes, the bee controversy was over and the bees get to stay. Hallelujah. Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, the bees are free at last. Apparently, Matt Bemrick, the mayor of Fort Dodge, good-hearted Matt, and Nevin, good guy, somehow worked something out so the bees could stay in Fort Dodge. Let us say a prayer of thanks. And again, with tears in our eyes, reflect on the warriors who saved the bees from being deported outside the city limits of Fort Dodge. This was a deal. This was a deal. There is a lot of drama in the world. The idea of stoicism and perseverance seems to have gone out the window. If there's any controversy at all, including bees in Fort Dodge, the thing for you to do is start screaming your damn head off. So this is what brings me back to Senator Joni Ernst. I don't know who the Democrats are going to run against Joni Ernst. They think they think certainly that she is vulnerable, and she very well may be. But I've heard it several times that Joni Ernst, her seat is being targeted by the Democrats. Oh, that's fair. That's what the Democratic Party does. So I called Joni's office because I just knew there was going to be some screaming dingbat the Democrats were going to find somewhere to run against Senator Ernst, and that dingbat might win. And, I've always kind of been attracted to Joni's down-to-earth country girl persona, the hog rides and hog roasts and this, that, and the other thing. And the unvarnished patriotism, old school traditional patriotism of Joni Ernst. And she stood up for it. And she very politely told those people with pink, blue, and yellow hair to go shove it. I kind of like that. Well, anyway, I tried to call her office yesterday. I got no cooperation for whoever answered the phone. I said, can I get a phone number of somebody, of the media person? Oh, no. Here, I'm going to give you the email address. So I took down the email address, and it bounced back to me a couple of times. This morning, I got a friend request on Facebook from a young man who's campaigning for Joni Ernst, and he wanted campaign help for Senator Ernst. And I send back a message just saying, listen, I've got a talk radio show in Fort Dodge, and I would be happy to have Senator Ernst on between now and the campaign to tell us why she should be reelected. The guy sends back a message. No, I'm just looking for people to go door to door. I sent him a message. Fine, I'll give it to Joni's opponent. See you later. You hire these very young people, and Joni has. I mean, both the person I spoke to on the phone yesterday, very young woman, and today I was speaking with a very young man, and they don't seem to have any manners. Well, the world has a way of teaching manners. That's it. Anyway, Nevin Conrad and Matt Bemrick have beaten back the forces valiantly that were trying to oppress bees. Nevin has sent me a message telling me that bees are good, but wasps, they're not. They're not good. To quote Councilman Conrad, wasps are the little flying spawns of Satan. Wow. He's a poet. All right, Steve, I'm sorry Roger Porter wasn't here. Again, just 10 minutes before showtime, he texted and said something important came up, which I believe him absolutely. Steve Peterson, the Farm Bureau, is here. We're gonna talk with Steve in just a few minutes. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
The USDA's 2019 acreage numbers might have created more questions than they answered. I'm Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. On Friday, the USDA released its prospective plantings report for June and announced it will be resurveying producers in 14 U.S. states. For some, it's going to be a year in the red, according to Gary Schnicke with the University of Illinois. We'll have more from him right after this.
Have you heard? New as of July 1st, grain bins will be sales tax exempt in Iowa. The Sukup team thanks the Iowa legislature for backing the ag industry in our home state. With a recent jump in corn prices, now is the time to take advantage of Sukup bins. They're ready to ship, letting you take charge of your grain and maximize your profits. Visit Sukup.com. That's SUKUP.com to find your local Sukup dealer today and learn how we can help you store now, profit later.
Time. It's the eternal measure for growers everywhere, influencing the ebbs and flows of every season. Through it all, Nutrien Ag Solutions stands with you, offering agronomic power, local expertise, and access to solutions to help you lead the field. Because the time to act is right now. Find your local crop consultant at nutrienagsolutions.com.
A farm management specialist says Prevented Plant is the most confusing crop insurance product, but it's helping farmers get through this year.
Most farmers that are taking large amounts of Prevent Plant payments will have low to even negative net incomes.
Gary Schnicke with the University of Illinois tells Brownfield USDA's risk management agency has moved up the date farmers can harvest cover crops on Prevent Plant acres to after September 1st to accommodate for forage shortages.
If another crop for harvest is planted on those acres, the Prevent Plant payment for corn will be lowered to 35% of its original. The individual will have to pay 35% of the premium, and then most likely it will be soybeans, and that soybeans will be insured if the farmer has purchased soybean crop insurance. There will be yield impacts or APH impacts as well. The APH yield will be 60% of the approved yield will be used for corn, and whatever happens on soybeans or whatever the second crop is will be the yield for that crop.
He says farmers can plant cover crops 20 days after the late planting period, which is about now. Corn planted as a cover crop for corn silage is eligible this year, and Schnicke says farmers can sell it.
Dairy farmers in particular that may be needing forage can plant corn. If that crop is corn silage is made before September 1, there's another set of rules.
An ag expert needs to recognize corn as an acceptable cover crop, and production practices could differ. Cereal, rye, clovers, and even soybeans, wheat, and oats could also be considered. If farmers are just planning to plant a cover crop on Prevent Plant acres, Schnicke advises potentially waiting until more details of the market facilitation program are released before choosing.
Been a tough year, and if you have Prevent Plant acres, planting a cover crop likely will be beneficial for the soil. So think about that, and you may want to hold off on doing that cover crop planting if you're in that position. You don't need the forages.
Again, that's Gary Schnicke at the University of Illinois. I'm Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With a look at local news from the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A woman has filed a lawsuit alleging that a Fort Dodge physician assistant engaged in a sexual relationship with her while treating her for mental health problems. The lawsuit alleges that physician assistant Mervyn Casey IV of Fort Dodge sexually exploited the patient and mishandled prescription drugs. Casey is serving a one-year suspension after reporting himself to the Iowa Board of Physician Assistants for an inappropriate relationship with a patient outside the clinic, but he's applied for a license reinstatement. A hearing on that is set for July 17th. The lawsuit filed on Friday alleges Casey began texting the woman, and the two developed a relationship after he started treating her at a Unity Point clinic in November 2017 for panic attacks, depression, and other illnesses. Casey pleaded guilty last year to misdemeanor charges of obstructing a prosecution and unlawfully possessing Adderall. He was sentenced to probation. The lawsuit alleges Casey, age 32, improperly administered oxycodone to the woman outside of his practice. A Fort Dodge man has been arrested after an early morning robbery Monday of a convenience store. Police say they were called shortly after 1 o'clock Monday morning to the New Star Mini Mart at 1923 Fifth Avenue South. The suspect, 19-year-old Dakota Remy, was accused of displaying a weapon and taking an undisclosed amount of money from the store. Remy was taken into custody on Monday afternoon and was charged with first-degree robbery, going armed with intent and trafficking stolen weapons. He's being held in the Webster County Jail. If convicted of the 3 charges, he could face up to 45 years in prison. Fort Dodge police are continuing their investigation into shots being fired during an incident on Monday afternoon. Police say a person called in saying that someone in a white van shot at them in the area of the Tudor block of North 10th Street. Officers later located a white van in the area of 1st Avenue North and 13th Street. Fort Dodge police say they did remove 3 pellet guns from inside that van, but no charges directly related to shots being fired has been filed. The driver of the van, Daniel Freeman of Fort Dodge, was charged with driving with a barred driver's license. Police say the case remains under investigation. Webster City has hired a new city manager. Jeffrey Sheridan currently is the town manager of Lowell, Indiana, and has over 25 years' experience in local government in Indiana. Callahan Municipal Consultants was hired by the city back in March to conduct a search for a new city manager after Daniel Ortiz Hernandez resigned last summer to take a position in California. 22 people applied for the job, with 9 candidates being interviewed and 3 finalists being chosen last month. The council approved Sheridan's hire at their meeting on Monday night with an annual starting salary of $115,000. He'll begin his new duties on August 26th. The state of Iowa collected over $500 million more in taxes during the last 12 months than during the previous fiscal year. OK Henderson with more.
Fiscal year 2019 for the state of Iowa ended Sunday. Preliminary figures indicate tax revenue growth was ahead of expectations by nearly $100 million. In total, the state of Iowa took in more than $9.3 billion in taxes and fees during the past 12 months. Officials say it's hard to estimate how much of the tax windfall is due to higher wages in Iowa and how much is due to a change in a state income tax deduction. Iowans get a deduction on their state income taxes for federal income taxes paid. That deduction has declined because of the tax cuts enacted at the federal level. The phased-in state income tax cuts Republican lawmakers approved in 2018 started to take effect in January of this year, halfway through the state's fiscal year. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley says U.S. agencies on the southern border are becoming really strained by trying to accommodate the skyrocketing numbers of immigrants. Grassley, a Republican, says the dramatic increase in immigrants is resulting in a corresponding rise in cases of their exploitation and death.
We must do more to enforce our immigration laws, but we must also meet the humanitarian needs on this ongoing crisis.
Grassley says he joined the majority of his colleagues last week in voting for legislation designed to bring relief to the beleaguered masses on the U.S.-Mexican border. Grassley says he's supporting civil bills aimed at keeping migrant families together and to prevent the abuse or exploitation of children who arrive at the border unaccompanied by an adult. And the June survey of business leaders in Iowa and 8 other Midwestern states signals positive growth for the region over the next 3 to 6 months. Ernie Goss, an economist at Creighton University, says while things are starting to pick up after several down months, international trade troubles continue to cloud the regional and national outlooks. Says tariffs restrict buying from abroad, and a lot of the supply managers are finding it more expensive to buy from abroad. Goss says the hiring for the region's manufacturing sector for June was up significantly.
The number one challenge over the next 12 months is finding and hiring qualified workers due to almost record low unemployment rates in most of the region. 40% of the supply managers indicated that was their number one challenge.
Still, according to the June survey, better than 71% of supply managers supported continuing current tariffs on China or even raising them. That's a look at local news. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. First of all, in the weather forecast, 87 degrees, a little rain this afternoon. Other than that, it'll be sunny with a high of 86 overnight, some isolated showers, then a slight chance of showers early in the morning, overnight low 70. Tomorrow, a chance of rain mainly early in the morning. I'm talking before 7. Otherwise, partly sunny with a high of 86. On Independence Day, the 4th of July, a good chance of a thunderstorm, sunny with a high of 84. On Friday, again, some rain, sunny with a high of 85. On Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 80. On Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 81. Right now, 87 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Heat, then rain, heat, then rain. That's got to be making some of the farmers kind of happy. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Barbara Dotery has passed away. Services for Barbara Dotery are tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Sacred Heart Church here in town with Gunderson Funeral Home handling the arrangements. Roy Rowe of Fort Dodge has passed away. Roy A. Rowe has died. There will be a memorial service for Mr. Rowe at a later date. Kathleen Goodner has died at the age of 63. She died June 30th at the Iowa Methodist Medical Center in Des Moines. She was born here in Fort Dodge, and there will be a time of gathering of family and friends, and that'll happen from 4 to 7 on Friday at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515 576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 235, 87 degrees here in Fort Dodge. Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau is waiting in the wings, and we'll talk with Steve in just a couple of minutes. Right now, with the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 1.5 at 4.26. March up 3 cents at 4.34 3/4. July soybeans down 9 1/4 at 8.76 1/4. August down a dime at 8.79 3/4. September down 10 1/4 at 8.86. November down 9 3/4 at 8.98 3/4. July milk down a dime at 17.37. Soybean meal down 1.30 a ton at 3.0350. August live cattle unchanged at 104.10. October down 17 at 105.35. August feeder cattle up 135 at 138.37. September up $1.20 to 138.82. July lean hogs up 115 at 73.72. August up 27 at 78.97. October down 15 at 73.05. I am Dwayne Murley.
Hey everyone, Ken here. For 2 years now, you've heard Carrie and I use metaphors to test to see if you think your home or your business could use a revenue shot in the backside. Today, because of our new website, I can be a little bit more direct. Income Store has 2 doors. If you have more time than money, you're going to live under door number 1. You're going to see over 400 digital assets, 5 to 20 minutes a piece, that'll teach you how to manage numbers and lead people, or show you 6 growth tips you've never heard of. All of this so you can start growing your home or your business revenue literally immediately. If you have more money than time, door number 2 is going to be for you. You can view some of our managed services, look for more done-for-you packages. 34% of Americans in 2018 visited one of our managed services. Forbes 3 years in a row quoted, "Income Store is an expert at generating home or business revenue." If you'd love to explore how to check out adding revenue to your home or business, just go to incomestore.com. That's incomestore.com.
Have you heard? New as of July 1st, grain bins will be sales tax exempt in Iowa. The Sukup team thanks the Iowa legislature for backing the ag industry in our home state. With a recent jump in corn prices, now is the time to take advantage of Sukup bins. They're ready to ship, letting you take charge of your grain and maximize your profits. Visit sukup.com. That's SUKUP.com to find your local Sukup dealer today and learn how we can help you store now, profit later.
Got a painting or staining project to do? Check out Iowa Outdoors and Hardware first. Come in now through July 7th during their summer rebates event and save up to $80 on the industry's highest quality products, Valspar interior and exterior paint, and Cabot exterior stains. You're going to love the extensive paint department at Iowa Outdoors and Hardware. It's stocked with everything you need for your summer projects. For all your paint needs, see Iowa Outdoors and Hardware at the junction of Highways 169 and 7, Fort Dodge.
We stand for people, progress and pride. Iowa Farm Bureau's by your side.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we believe in Iowa's future. We support Iowa's youth, encourage ag innovations, and nurture new business opportunities in rural communities. We're a century strong and growing. To learn more, contact your local county farm bureau.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Yeah, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I wish you a wonderful Independence Day. I ask you to remember the meaning of Independence Day, the true meaning of Independence Day. All right, if you'd care to join the program, it's always 515-955-1400. And this portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Of course, as always, we have Steve Peterson of the Webster County Farm Bureau. How are you, Steve?
Good. How are you, Mike?
You heard about the Mayor Matt Bremrick leading the charge on his white horse to save the bees. He's done it again. He's saved the bees from oppression.
I seen that. I heard that.
The bees were endangered, but Matt rode up.
Yeah,
on his white horse, shining armor, sword in hand.
Bees are. A lot of people don't really realize how important bees are for everything.
I didn't until a couple of television specials a few years ago, and they were all revolved around the bees are dying.
Yep.
Bees were dying by the millions.
and they've cycled right now. I think they're kind of seeing that bees are kind of making a comeback. But there's some cycles that we don't understand right now, and there's a lot of speculation of what is causing it. I know a lot of universities, there's a lot of studies going on. For a while they do I guess an autopsy on bees to try to figure out what's going on, and there's been different insecticides and different things that have, I guess, possible, but nothing confirmed. But yeah, bees, I believe you have to register a beehive. There are registries, and for farmers, that's something that we are required to check if we're going to spray or apply chemicals that are deemed toxic to bees. It says all on the labels of the stuff we use. So it's something that we're very aware of in our environment and very cautious of too. So it seems a little, I guess being in an urban environment, I don't know what to think about it, but yeah, it's very important for pollination and pollinators. And
certainly,
a lot of people are building habitats. I spoke off the air. Out in the country, I don't know. I've seen it, and I've heard a lot of other people say the amount of monarch butterflies right now on the roadways is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen this many. They are just. There's thousands or millions of them.
Yeah,
probably.
Who knows? Yeah,
and early in the morning, they're kind of hugging the pavement. I suppose they're trying to get warmed up, and just a lot of little ones. But that's an insect that for the last couple of years has been studied to possibly been put on the endangered species list. And I know at Farm Bureau we get pretty involved in this kind of stuff, because if the monarch would be put on an endangered species list, the implications of pesticide applications, it can be pretty devastating. And a lot of that, they say we've decimated a lot of habitat with the monarch butterfly.
No doubt.
One of their main food stocks while they're here in the northern part is used to be the milkweed. And we've pretty much all but eradicated milkweeds,
Have we really?
in the fields. They're in ditches. So they in the pollinator crops, they call them, those are mixes of flowers and different, milkweeds and different kind of thistles.
Sure,
and it's kind of a natural habitat for, the pollinator type insects. And, but yeah, it's just amazing to see the amount of monarchs right now. I know I was from Des Moines, back up here over the weekend, and it truly amazing. It looked basically like driving down the road, like there was leaves, like you're driving through leaves, how many were out there. And I seen cars that just had the front of them plastered.
Mine
with those butterflies. So
I drove down to Des Moines Friday night myself.
Sure.
And my grill work is full of bugs and butterflies.
So, I guess whatever weather conditions we have, it must have been conducive for the butterflies this spring.
Well, we have had unusual conditions. Now, this is the second year we've had very wet conditions. And again, it seems like we have winter.
Sure.
And then we have rain instead of a spring. And then all of the sudden, in late June, just a few days ago, the temperature went to 90-some degrees.
Yeah, it turned the oven on.
Yeah.
So,
But I was thinking when the oven came on, the farmer's going to love this, because the more uncomfortable the weather is for us as human beings, the better it is for corn.
It is. Right now, if you drive out in the country, you're going to see corn in almost all stages, from very, very small. And we measure it, in the V stages, and that's how many leaves basically are exposed. And in this kind of weather, corn probably puts on about a leaf and a full collar about every 3 days. That's probably a rule of thumb. So currently I've got some corn, and we'll pull a tassel out of the center part out of the corn, and we'll peel back the leaves and count them. And that's how many we can then calculate roughly how many days we have before the tassel would appear. And normally in a normal year, I guess whatever normal is these days, around the 4th of July, we generally are starting to see some tassels. I'm kind of calculating on my own personal crop, and that was planted in April.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at a timely fashion. But since then, you know, we got the weather was unusually cool and we didn't have the heat. My crop is probably, we've been making up some days now, finally. I'm probably still just, you know, a little over a week behind.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you just heard our phones go off, that's because we got a text from Greg Hora.
I did. I seen that.
Now, I can't get Greg in here on Wednesday anymore to be on his own show.
Sure.
But he wants to come on this one, I guess.
Yeah.
And Greg reminds Steve and I to thank the farmers. So thanks, Steve.
Well, thank you, Mike. On behalf of all the farmers.
All the farmers in the world. There we go. Why am I thanking you again?
for you know, back to the bees and with everything, you know, it's agriculture is a lot of stewardship, and there's a lot of regulations that go along with farming that a lot of people don't understand. And this last week, Greg, he was able to participate in this. We were invited to participate in a teachers academy put on by the Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation.
Okay.
And that's a Farm Bureau is involved in this, and there's a lot of entities involved in these partnerships. And I think, if I understood right, I think they have somewhere between, I think they had 11 classes this year in Iowa, and they're spread around the state. And we hosted one here in Fort Dodge last week, and out at the Iowa State Extension office, and it was a sold out deal. As far as the group, I think there was 34, 35 teachers, and it's kind of a continuing ed for the teachers. And we put together the first day. I know Greg, he spoke about pork production, and then we went out, we had buses, or we had a big tour bus, I guess, or a Greyhound, and we took them out to roll in to New Cooperative's liquid and dry fertilizer and chemical storage facilities. And they got to see, you know, firsthand what a real modern facility looks like. What and it was very interesting listening to their questions, and you know, they're very curious of, you know, what kind of you know, requirements for employment, you know, pay, and these teachers varied anywhere from, you know, from elementary to high school.
Sure.
So a lot of different varieties of them. And the teachers were there was, I think I heard about every county, Webster and every county around, and even some, you know, that drive quite a ways that came to this. But it was very interesting to give them firsthand knowledge of what's going on currently in agriculture, and a lot of interesting questions from a perspective that, you know, and a lot of them had a farm background or came from a farm or had a grandparent that farmed, but they were really kind of blown away, I think, of where farming's gone to the, you know, currently. And then we moved on from the fertilizer plant there. We went down in the quarry or the mine at Martin Marietta. And, you know, that's something I've never done. And I jumped the chance to do that. I didn't know what to expect. And a lot of them, I think, were kind of wondering, well, why are we going down in a mine? What's this have to do with agriculture? And then when we got down there, we had, I mean, they go through the process, take you down there. Our group didn't really allow I don't think they realized that all these places we went, we had to get read into safety and go through all the, you know, so there's a little bit more of a process to get in.
You had to sign a waiver in case you were killed, or?
No, we didn't sign a waiver, but when they went through the breathing instructions and the air canisters and all the safety equipment they put on the bus, because they had to have the safety equipment for everyone on the bus. And there was probably 6 of them that went down with us. And so we took a big old Greyhound bus down in that mine. They had to modify the opening to get us in there.
Sure.
Because of the steepness. But they learned then, we had a marketing guy from Martin Marietta of basically how limestone is used in agricultural processes to modify the pH of the soil. And a lot of them really weren't aware of how that is, and it kind of tied in with the facility we were just at before with nutrients. And, you know, if you get the soil pH out of whack, it can tie up nutrients, and it's just being a good steward of the land
Mhm.
to keep everything in check. It's kind of like, going to the doctor and getting your blood work. You want to have everything kind of in balance. And ag lime is a commodity that is used in farm fields to adjust pH. So very interesting deal down there.
I bet.
It's 55 degrees down there, I think, year round. It's a little city, really.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of tunnels.
During my truck driving days, I saw some big mines. There's some big mines down by Kansas City.
Yeah.
You drive your truck right in them. It's like it is a big city down
We
there.
took a regular Greyhound bus down in there and drove around, and
Sure.
they'd quiz us on which direction we were going. No one could really keep track.
I would imagine you.
There's markings on the walls and whatnot, and they explain that. And then after that, we did get stuck coming out of the mine. So we
got stuck coming out of the
got
mine.
stuck coming out. Our driver's a little timid, and since they just reshaped the entrance of the mine so we could fit in there, he got a little timid, and he did the worst thing you could do is he stopped right in the opening.
You don't do that in a big vehicle.
So that was really had them scratching their heads how they're going to get a Greyhound bus out of the opening of the mine shaft. But after a little bit of engineering and a few opinions, they managed to find a big old loader, end loader, and they hooked onto that bus, and they just pulled us right up out of the hill. So unfortunately, it kind of crunched our schedule. So we were going to go to Cargill, but we decided then to go to CJ Bio, and very interesting process that they do there. The technology and the automation is just crazy to think that that's going on right outside of Fort Dodge here. And talked to a lot of the employees, and again, they wanted to know what kind of training, and they were very interested in the partnerships that they've formed with our junior colleges to train a workforce, and how they've built these relationships locally to maintain their workforce. And so that was extremely interesting. And then we managed our final stop for the day was out at Soldier Creek Winery, which was a fitting stop for the end of the day to go to the winery. But again, that was to show a different side of agriculture, and that was the winemaking and the grapes, and we talked about bees out there because of bees and vineyards have protectionist status, with applying pesticides and whatnot. So,
Sure.
And the bees are very important to the winemaking process with the plants, and
Have no fear. Mayor Bemrick is on the job.
Yeah.
Bee defender.
Well, it's
Mayor Bee for the bees.
It's a good thing. I like I said, it's kind of, I've never really had heard much about it within the metro areas. There's, it'd be an interesting conversation. I'm allergic to bees also. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of people are. It's just, we don't tend to get around real aggressive bees too often. But
Yeah, up there at camp, whatever it is. God, I can't remember. There's got to be some guys that went to a guard camp years ago. I don't think it was Camp Ripley, but it was some other thing. Anyway, this big fat bee snuck up on me and bit me right in the hand. That was his last act on earth, but he still got me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Soldier Creek, that was a very interesting family run business, and the history of how they got started. And it's just to me, it's amazing that the children's their kids, the one girl's got basically education in winemaking, and I think the son is a horticulturist, and it's just a family effort out there. And by judging the awards and everything, and then they kind of give us a tasting, and it kind of was a good conclusion for the tours of that day. In the second day, we fortunately were able to have Cargill come in and give us a presentation, I guess, on the plant. We were fit that in the schedule, and then we had Jeremy Swanson from New Cooperative. He gave a presentation on technology, and it kind of tied everything together as far as some of the places we've seen from the fertilizer and chemical side of things to the ag lime and that aspect, and ultimately, a crop that was being grown, that everything is not just corn and beans in Iowa. That's what we see, but there are a lot of other things. So it gave them a very diverse education on that. And then at the end, I think the last presentation by a farmer was Kyle Larson from Humboldt. And
I know Kyle.
Yeah, and he gave a lot of the questions. I talked to him. He wasn't there for the early part, and I told him, I said, well, they're asking a lot of questions, and they want to know this, and they were very interested in organic and non-GMOs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of confusion in there, and that's like we a lot of our ag industries, we fight sometimes the messaging of some of these things and the differences between organic and non-GMO and so he gave a really neat presentation on kind of a niche market that their families got in, raising pigs for the I think the Neiman Ranch. So and they don't raise in hog lots. They're what I would consider the old style. Their pigs are in huts and they're outside and but it's definitely a niche market. There's room for a lot of different markets in modern ag, and that's what they've found. I think he told me that they purchased all the Sparbo farm properties.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, so they're going to be expanding into some of that and using some of those facilities now too. So
Sparbo had several locations.
Yeah. So and I think they weren't being utilized for I don't know how long. They've just been kind of empty, I thought.
I don't know. It's been I've always hesitated to talk about this, but several years ago, 20 years ago, I made some pretty good money hauling manure to the fields out of the Sparbo barns. I had a truck and had a side dump and that was it was good money in those days.
Right. And then Jerry Cheezick with Iowa State Extension and he talked about 4-H and a lot of there. So and then the girls from the Iowa Ag Literacy Program, they gave a lot of presentations and tools.
That's really terrific. The Iowa Ag Literacy Program
and a lot of resources that are available to school teachers.
Sure.
There's grants that I know the Farm Bureau has. There's resources, whether it's videos and just educational publications that they put in.
All right, Steve Peterson is our guest. He's with the Webster County Farm Bureau. We'll be back.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this summer? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800 Bus Ride. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
This code asks, what events in our nation's history had an impact on you and how?
Pearl Harbor was on my 10th birthday, December 7th, 1941. That was the start of World War II. I was doing the farm chores with my brother, and the vet came to check our cows and told us all about it. It was a scary time.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
You're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. It's 87 degrees. Our guest is Steve Peterson with the Webster County Farm Bureau. We'll be back with Steve in the next half hour. The news is coming up. Yeah, we're looking forward to 4th of July. Going to be a little bit wet, but it's good for the corn. Good for the corn. A little heat and rain is good. So, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, KVFD Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thank you for listening.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A new American flag controversy over a shoe on Lisa Brady, Fox News. Nike just out with a statement explaining why it stopped distribution of a 4th of July sneaker with the Betsy Ross flag, saying it was based on concern that it could unintentionally offend and detract from the nation's patriotic holiday.
So you have Colin Kaepernick, who finds it offensive. You have a lot of people online that are connecting the shoe to not only slavery, but white nationalism as well. However, you have a local politician who is angry at Nike for pulling the shoe. This politician is Doug Ducey. He's the governor of Arizona. He said that he is going to revoke financial incentives for Nike to open a plant in Phoenix, a plant worth about $185 million, bringing 500 jobs to the area.
Fox Business Network's Christina Partsinevelos, in its new statement, Nike makes an apparent reference to that Arizona project, saying it remains committed to creating jobs, including an additional manufacturing center. They're not confirming any influence by Kaepernick, the former NFL quarterback best known for starting the national anthem kneeling protests. The jury's still out in San Diego at the war crimes trial of a Navy SEAL chief.
In its second day of deliberation, a jury of 5 Marines and 2 Navy men are going through weeks of testimony from Navy SEALs who say they saw SEAL Chief Eddie Gallagher kill a captured terror suspect in Iraq in 2017, and testimony from an Iraqi general who said he didn't, and another SEAL who said that he killed the ISIS fighter, and a case where a military judge tossed the lead prosecutor for illegally spying on defense emails. President Trump has also indicated a possible pardon in this and other war crimes cases.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. Stocks finish higher. They had been mixed, but at the closing bell, the Dow up 69 points and back-to-back records for the S&P. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Pushback and investigations by Border Patrol officials after the latest claims about migrant conditions and the conduct of agents.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection is investigating a reported private Facebook page containing jokes about migrant deaths, sexist memes, and attacks on Latina lawmakers. CPB Deputy Commissioner Robert Perez says the agency is taking the allegations seriously.
This is not representative of the 60,000 men and women of this agency.
Perez also pushed back on claims from Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that migrants are being told to drink from toilets, saying fresh water is provided to everyone in their care.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in Washington. Some of the most powerful corporations in America are giving the nation's highest court their opinion on a closely watched case.
More than 200 companies have a message for the Supreme Court, which hears arguments this fall on whether the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects gay and transgender people from workplace discrimination. Amazon, Coca-Cola, Disney, and Nike, some of the signers of a friend of the court brief, arguing for a uniform federal rule to protect LGBTQ employees equally across all 50 states. The Trump administration disagreeing that job discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity is protected under federal civil rights law. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
It's apparently never too late to return an overdue book, even after nearly 5 decades. A California man finding a book in a storage box that he had borrowed 47 years ago from a library in Hawaii where he was living at the time. So while vacationing in Hawaii recently, he returned it with a letter explaining what had happened and a new copy of the book to replace his old damaged one. And He doesn't even have to pay a fine. Again, stocks finish higher. Oil prices down nearly 5%. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With a look at local news from the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A woman has filed a lawsuit alleging that a Fort Dodge physician assistant engaged in a sexual relationship with her while treating her for mental health problems. The lawsuit alleges that physician assistant Mervyn Casey IV of Fort Dodge sexually exploited the patient and mishandled prescription drugs. Casey is serving a 1-year suspension after reporting himself to the Iowa Board of Physician Assistants for an inappropriate relationship with a patient outside the clinic, but he's applied for a license reinstatement. A hearing on that is set for July 17th. The lawsuit filed on Friday alleges Casey began texting the woman, and the two developed a relationship after he started treating her at a Unity Point clinic in November 2017 for panic attacks, depression, and other illnesses. Casey pleaded guilty last year to misdemeanor charges of obstructing a prosecution and unlawfully possessing Adderall. He was sentenced to probation. The lawsuit alleges Casey, age 32, improperly administered oxycodone to the woman outside of his practice. A Fort Dodge man has been arrested after an early morning robbery Monday of a convenience store. Police say they were called shortly after 1 o'clock Monday morning to the New Star Mini Mart at 1923 5th Avenue South. The suspect, 19-year-old Dakota Remy, was accused of displaying a weapon and taking an undisclosed amount of money from the store. Remy was taken into custody on Monday afternoon and was charged with first-degree robbery, going armed with intent and trafficking stolen weapons. He's being held in the Webster County Jail. If convicted of the 3 charges, he could face up to 45 years in prison. Fort Dodge police are continuing their investigation into shots being fired during an incident on Monday afternoon. Police say a person called in saying that someone in a white van shot at them in the area of the Tudor block of North 10th Street. Officers later located a white van in the area of 1st Avenue North and 13th Street. Fort Dodge police say they did remove 3 pellet guns from inside that van, but no charges directly related to shots being fired has been filed. The driver of the van, Daniel Freeman of Fort Dodge, was charged with driving with a barred driver's license. Police say the case remains under investigation. Webster City has hired a new city manager. Jeffrey Sheridan currently is the town manager of Lowell, Indiana, and has over 25 years' experience in local government in Indiana. Callahan Municipal Consultants was hired by the city back in March to conduct a search for a new city manager after Daniel Ortiz Hernandez resigned last summer to take a position in California. 22 people applied for the job, with 9 candidates being interviewed and 3 finalists being chosen last month. The council approved Sheridan's hire at their meeting on Monday night with an annual starting salary of $115,000. He'll begin his new duties on August 26th. The state of Iowa collected over $500 million more in taxes during the last 12 months than during the previous fiscal year. OK Henderson with more.
Fiscal year 2019 for the state of Iowa ended Sunday. Preliminary figures indicate tax revenue growth was ahead of expectations by nearly $100 million. In total, the state of Iowa took in more than $9.3 billion in taxes and fees during the past 12 months. Officials say it's hard to estimate how much of the tax windfall is due to higher wages in Iowa and how much is due to a change in a state income tax deduction. Iowans get a deduction on their state income taxes for federal income taxes paid. That deduction has declined because of the tax cuts enacted at the federal level. The phased-in state income tax cuts Republican lawmakers approved in 2018 started to take effect in January of this year, halfway through the state's fiscal year. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley says U.S. agencies on the southern border are becoming really strained by trying to accommodate the skyrocketing numbers of immigrants. Grassley, a Republican, says the dramatic increase in immigrants is resulting in a corresponding rise in cases of their exploitation and death.
We must do more to enforce our immigration laws, but we must also meet the humanitarian needs on this ongoing crisis.
Grassley says he joined the majority of his colleagues last week in voting for legislation designed to bring relief to the beleaguered masses on the U.S.-Mexican border. Grassley says he's supporting civil bills aimed at keeping migrant families together and to prevent the abuse or exploitation of children who arrive at the border unaccompanied by an adult. And the June survey of business leaders in Iowa and other Midwestern states signals positive growth for the region over the next 3 to 6 months. Ernie Goss, an economist at Creighton University, says while things are starting to pick up after several down months, international trade troubles continue to cloud the regional and national outlooks. Says tariffs restrict buying from abroad, and a lot of the supply managers are finding it more expensive to buy from abroad. Goss says the hiring for the region's manufacturing sector for June was up significantly.
The number one challenge over the next 12 months
is finding and hiring qualified workers due to almost record low unemployment rates in most of the region. 40% of the supply managers indicated that was their number one challenge.
Still, according to the June survey, better than 71% of supply managers supported continuing current tariffs on China or even raising them. That's a look at local news. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. High of 86. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again. Tonight, lows level off around 69. Overcast. More clouds than sun. Tomorrow, chance for isolated storms. Highs level off around 86. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 86.
Hi, this is Heather Reck with Neighborhood Realty. Are you thinking about selling your home but not sure who to list with? Well, being from Dayton, I am centrally located between several larger markets and have a vast knowledge of the small surrounding towns and acreages as well. I'm a full-time agent and mom of 3, making me a pro at schedules and time management. But that's not what is most important. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Find our information online at neighborhood-realty.net and make sure to check us out on Facebook.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right, welcome back. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. And with us, of course, is Steve Peterson. And Steve and I have been talking about saving the bees and our courageous Mayor Bemrick, Super Bee. I'm going to start calling him Super Bee Bemrick. What do you think?
I think if he needs any advice, Iowa State Extension's a good
Iowa
place
State Extension's a good place. Maybe he went there.
Well,
got on his Super Bee superhero costume and charged out there.
If people had questions about it, that would be the resource I would probably go to first. And for any of the council members, if they feel they're getting out of some uncharted territory or whatnot, that's definitely where I'd go for a kind of an unbiased or for resources or knowledge on that. So,
well, I think that I have always been impressed with the Iowa State Extension Service. Yeah. The knowledge that's available for free out there is astounding.
Yeah, like I said, whether you're we're talking about bees right now, or you want to know more about your tomato plants. It's a good resource, and farmers, we use them for a lot of different things, for research, insects. We have I know there's a new invasive pest that we have supposedly going to come into Iowa. It's a soybean. I'll say this wrong. A soybean midge gal or gal midge, or it's kind of a little larva looking insect, and it's supposedly up in northwest Iowa. And it's a few years back, something new was the soybean aphids. That was a kind of a new thing. I know Iowa State, back when we had a big white hailstorm go through south of Fort Dodge, they brought people up to talk to us about dealing with corn that had been hailed on and different molds and spores that could develop in that crop, and how to handle it and look for it. So no, it's a great resource. And like I said, if it's something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, that'd be my first place to go for check on things. And
sure.
And I mean, like I told you when we're off air, I think at Baumgart's they sell stuff for beekeeping. I have seen it, so it's not a stretch to think someone could do it. But there's protocol and regulations. For I think both parties involved in that. So
right.
It'd be interesting to see how that goes. I'm sure there can be a compromise worked out though.
It's already been done. Super Bee Bemrick and his his what do you call it? What did Batman call Robin? Batman and Robin. He was
sidekick.
Sidekick. That's right. So Super B. Bemrick and his sidekick, Nervous Nevin Conrad, have saved the day for the bees.
Well, good.
They will not tolerate oppression of bees and discrimination of bees. So I think that's true.
Well, there could be some education on both sides, on that too. So
you educated me already when you called up a list of apiaries just in Webster County, for God's sake.
And that's something a lot of people don't realize. Farmers, we are responsible to know our surroundings, and so periodically you do check these things to make sure, because if you would have a beehive or a winery or different things, in your area, that is one of the things that we're expected as a applicator, whether you're doing it yourself, like the stuff I do, or I would hire it done by a guy that, just a professional, or say I reach out to the co-ops. And the co-ops, they have pretty amazing technology to make sure they're in the right field. I know where my fields are, but their employees, they don't know everyone's field, so they go to great lengths to ensure that they're where they are supposed to be.
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing. I know, like we were talking earlier about the Ag Literacy project or Teachers Academy that we had, and I think they were impressed, and I think it really opened their eyes to for the ones that were close to home, this goes on in their backyard. It was just a pretty neat experience, and to listen to the questions, and I'm confident a lot of them will take something they got out of this and incorporate it in their classrooms and going forward, because that's really what we try to get the message. I know as a county farm bureau, we have ag in the classroom teachers that we offer to go into classrooms, and it's a tough deal, trying to get the word out and teach some of these young kids, because it's something that's unfortunately a lot of kids don't have the ability to, or they're not exposed to it like people were a generation or two ago. A lot of them, I know we've done different things, and we'll kind of pull of the background of the kids and whatnot, but a lot of them had a grandparent, or they know someone that might have farmed or was involved in agriculture, but here locally, it was, I think it really opened their eyes up of just how much involvement the agriculture in this community. If a lot of them had no idea that out at Martin Marietta in the mines that had any ties to agriculture.
Right.
And then the other thing too that was real interesting is that almost every stop there was always questions about what kind of employee they look for. What can be expected.
One that's not stoned all the time, from what I understand.
And all these companies had, I think every place we stopped, with the exception of the vineyard, had openings and hiring sessions, and I think at CJ, they had different programs. I think you could continue your educations. I think a lot of them had that, but there was everything from very entry level positions to positions that needed 4-year degrees and whatnot, and everything in between. So
yeah, it wasn't that long ago in the 80s, the only job you could get in Fort Dodge was a short order cooker driving a truck, and those jobs weren't even that easy to come by.
And a lot of them, they preferred, in some respects, they said sometimes their best employees are ones that don't have any experience. That high school, person right out of high school that they can, mold, and they can shape their future, and they can train them and provide guidance and an ability to work up through the companies. So, there's a lot of growth potential locally here in these industries.
I'll have to get Kyle Larson back on the air and ask what he's doing with those old Sparbo buildings.
Yeah,
those are big buildings.
Yeah, he was very interesting, and a lot of people don't realize that's going on. It's again, it's a niche market that they're in, and it's just a different type of agriculture. So everything isn't just hammering down corn and beans and pigs. I mean,
Mhm.
that's our big stuff around here. But there's a lot of other industries, a lot of support industries. It would have been neat to go into a feed mill and see. I know there's a good one up by Pomeroy, a new one that New Co-op built.
Oh, there is in Pomeroy.
Yeah, Pomeroy. So those things, there's some more north of town, but they're just amazing little factories anymore, and how much they consume, but the variant of jobs that they have. So that's what we're trying to, just how diverse agriculture is locally. So
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. You were talking about, we've been talking about bees, and Market on Central. There's always a couple of guys there from apiaries around the area.
Sure, there is.
I think I talked with a guy the last Market on Central who was between here and Ames, and I tried some of his honey, and I bought a jar just to sample. It's first class stuff.
Yeah, and honey is, from what I've understood and tried, honey is very specific to the region that the bee is exposed to. So that's why honeys take on different flavors and whatnot. So but it's bees. The numbers is staggering what we would do without bees. The job that they do, while it seems so minuscule, it is so important. So it's I'm glad they got it settled in with the young lady in town, and I commend her for trying.
A little
something.
initiative is fine.
Yeah.
Just keep those bees over there. Don't sting me.
Yeah.
Just keep the bees over there. Do you have any bees out at your place?
Well, there's actually a lot of bees you see in the waterways, and we do put there's some native flowers and
Sure,
stuff like that
of
you'll
course.
see grow, and I know some people personally that have planted pollinator crops, which that is basically it's a package deal. You seed it, and it might have 50 different types of vegetation and their specific habitats for the pollinators, and the butterflies and the bees, and there's been a lot of initiative in the last few years, because like I said, if the monarch was going to get put
do we know why the monarch came back like it has?
I don't know, but some of the implications, even for someone in the city, if the monarch butterfly was put on the endangered species list, I'm not 100% sure you could spray for mosquitoes anymore.
Well, that is a question.
And because when you're spraying like that, and they happen to be around, and if they're endangered species, there's some urban people that might get thrown into the mix too. So there's a lot of questions that brings up. So hopefully we can definitely curb that. But from my observation here in Central Iowa, we've got one heck of a crop of monarchs right now. So
right. Now, before we got some time left here. What has the heat, after all the water we got, all the rain we got? How are the crops looking?
Again, you can drive out in the country, you're going to see everything. You're going to see beans that are just an inch tall, to beans that are minor. They probably got about a little less than halfway to go to close the row in, I guess is how they're my beans are going to be knee high by the 4th of July, and that's a pretty advanced crop around here. Corn in the last 2 weeks has just got enormous in size. It's still shorter than what we normally would, but I'd say I probably have some 4 or 5 foot corn right now, which a few weeks ago didn't seem like it could be possible. But again, you can find corn that's a foot tall. So there literally will be some corn this year. It's knee high by the 4th of July. But we're going to chug away. Time will tell. Generally, for growing crops, we like to see the nighttime temperatures go below 70 degrees. If they don't, for lack of better terms, the plant doesn't have a chance to rest. It's like it's running a marathon and it can't take a break. This year, unfortunately, we've had a lot of nighttime temps. I think Sunday morning I got up and it was almost 80 degrees at 6 a.m. It has kind of allowed us to make up a few days, I guess, for lack of better terms, in the last week. I've heard some reports we're going to kind of cool off a little bit from there, but still have some pretty nice temps going forward. So it's too soon to tell. I just got another text. Slifer's getting hit by a storm.
Whoa, Slifer's getting hit by a storm. My God.
These little pop-up thunderstorms are it's the season. It looks like we have a chance for rain almost every day in the next 10 days. It's just where you're at. So hopefully we can proceed through here. I just got another text. Sometimes the extension has offered beekeeping classes in the past. So that's something
The extension service has?
Yeah.
I wonder if they plan on doing it in the future.
I don't know. Maybe you and Mr. Bemrick can attend one.
Me and Super B. Bemrick?
There
I
you
think
go.
so.
There
That
you
would be
go.
great.
So, but yeah, like I said, the extension they have classes for almost anything you can think of. Go to their website, and it's just amazing the different courses they offer. But as far as crops, we're chugging away here. It is going to be 4th of July here in a couple days. That's usually seems like the halfway point in the summer, at least for me. And hopefully we can have keep these temps up. We have to finish this crop off. We have potential for a good crop in some areas, and there's going to be some below average crop. But compared to other parts of the country, there's still fields underwater in some parts of the country. So there's been a lot of controversy in the last week with some crop reports that were released, and I think most farmers have just put those behind them. And because last Friday they released a report, and then 2 hours later they said, well, the information wasn't right, so we're going to resurvey. Well, a lot of people were wondering why they even released a report then, if they were going to do that a few hours later. And that's caused some rifts right now in the market. We've kind of taken a step back. But I think at the end of the day, it could be a very interesting marketing year for a lot of people. There's some parts of this country that are definitely going to struggle to have a crop by the end of the year. So hopefully, I'd say we're in this direct area. We're kind of in the garden spot, from what I'm hearing, or other places around the country. So with that said, we got coming up here before we know it, 13th is the Webster County Farm Bureau Day at the Webster County Fair. We're going to start getting into fair season.
Look out. Are you big into the fair?
Well, we do Webster County Farm Bureau. We have a pretty big presence on that Saturday at the fair. We do the kitty tractor pulls. We do a free watermelon feed. Of course, we do the sweet corn feed later in the day. We have been assured that we were going to have sweet corn there. That was a question because of all the delays in planning, if the guy that grows it would have a crop for it, and he's assured us that we would. And again, that's a free will donation. We're donating all of the money back. All the proceeds go back to the food banks in Webster County. And then on the end of July, we have our Webster County kind of our appreciation dinner for our members, and we're doing that at the Opera House. And then the Iowa State Fair, of course, down in the Iowa State Fair in August. So it's definitely fair season. And the weather in the last couple of days, it would seem like it.
Certainly would, wouldn't it?
So,
gosh, we're about 6 weeks from the Iowa State Fair, aren't we?
We are.
Of course, this weekend, the end of this week, or the early part of next week, I should say, we'll have the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, and we're halfway through the summer.
And of course, we got the parade and the celebrations in Gowrie, which they do 4th of July right, as far as
I think that they always have. Gowrie should be proud. They've done a great job. I haven't been over there the last couple of years, but the parade and the fireworks they have over there in Gowrie
probably
are
one of the things that'll just set you back is the parade starts at 10 o'clock, and the first thing you'll see on the parade, if you have never been there, you'll see these floats with an American flag, and every one of those flags represents an individual from that area that has served their country and
that's nice
and passed away. And it's amazing to see the number of flags and the floats, and it's a very traditional, and they just do it right. That's about all you can say about the parade in Gowrie on the 4th of July. So,
yes, they do it right. Gowrie does.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little town. And do they have a car dealership there still or not?
They did, and that that left, I think, about 2 years ago.
Benson was down there, and then Jacobson Ford was there.
Yeah, there used to be a Ford and a Chevy, and then Mackey's came over here and recently, and then they
left.
Yeah, they left out of there. But a lot of things. Parade starts at 10. You need to be there pretty early.
That's right.
That's
right.
It's only a couple ways in and out of that town, and it can get pretty congested. So. But no, a lot of good things, fun things to do there. Car shows, tractor. I think tomorrow's a tractor ride they do around the area, and that's pretty neat to see that too. I don't know if Mr. Murley gets involved in that one.
Squirrely? I bet he does.
I know he does his share of tractor rides.
Yes, he does.
He really enjoys that. So
he's the most energetic non-farmer I've ever seen in my life.
He turns the steering wheel a little bit.
Well, I have done that as well, but that doesn't make me a farmer. But Dwayne's right in there, I'll tell you.
Yep.
Anyway, Steve Peters is our guest this portion of the program, brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Exactly what we're doing, making radio great again. Later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock, as a matter of fact, we'll have City Manager David Feerick. We'll have Jeremy Taylor next. He's running for the Republican nomination for the 4th Congressional District. He's trying to unseat Steve King. Never talked to him before. It'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
We are the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we believe in nurturing our state's most precious resource, our children. That's why we provide millions of dollars in scholarships, grants, and resources to Iowa students and teachers. For more information, contact your local county farm bureau.
People, progress, and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau, helping you.
Got a painting or staining project to do? Check out Iowa Outdoors and Hardware first. Come in now through July 7th during their summer rebates event and save up to $80 on the industry's highest quality products, Valspar interior and exterior paint, and Cabot exterior stains. You're going to love the extensive paint department at Iowa Outdoors and Hardware. It's stocked with everything you need for your summer projects. For all your paint needs, see Iowa Outdoors and Hardware at the junction of Highways 169 and 7, Fort Dodge.
You probably want to eat healthy, but getting enough organic fruits and vegetables into your diet every day is not only time consuming, it's expensive. That's why at Texas Superfood, we've created a blend of the best USDA organic, vine-ripened fruits and vegetables, powerful enzymes and probiotics, and energizing herbs, all in a convenient capsule or powder. We call it Texas Superfood Complete Organic. Hi, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and I invented Texas Superfood almost 20 years ago with one goal in mind: to help people like you who lead busy lives get the all-natural nutrition that every one of us needs and deserves. So if you can't, won't, or don't eat all your organic fruits and vegetables every day, Texas Superfood Complete Organic makes eating healthy easy. See our full line of quality nutritional products at TexasSuperfood.com or call us at 855-TEXAS-55. That's 855-TEXAS-55. TexasSuperfood.com.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With a look at local news from the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher reporting. A woman has filed a lawsuit alleging that a Fort Dodge physician assistant engaged in a sexual relationship with her while treating her for mental health problems. The lawsuit alleges that physician assistant Mervyn Casey IV of Fort Dodge sexually exploited the patient and mishandled prescription drugs. Casey is serving a 1-year suspension after reporting himself to the Iowa Board of Physician Assistants for an inappropriate relationship with a patient outside the clinic, but he's applied for a license reinstatement. A hearing on that is set for July 17th. The lawsuit filed on Friday alleges Casey began texting the woman, and the two developed a relationship after he started treating her at a Unity Point clinic in November 2017 for panic attacks, depression, and other illnesses. Casey pleaded guilty last year to misdemeanor charges of obstructing a prosecution and unlawfully possessing Adderall. He was sentenced to probation. The lawsuit alleges Casey, age 32, improperly administered oxycodone to the woman outside of his practice. A Fort Dodge man has been arrested after an early morning robbery Monday of a convenience store. Police say they were called shortly after 1 o'clock Monday morning to the New Star Mini Mart at 1923 Fifth Avenue South. The suspect, 19-year-old Dakota Remy, was accused of displaying a weapon and taking an undisclosed amount of money from the store. Remy was taken into custody on Monday afternoon and was charged with first-degree robbery, going armed with intent and trafficking stolen weapons. He's being held in the Webster County Jail. If convicted of the 3 charges, he could face up to 45 years in prison. Fort Dodge police are continuing their investigation into shots being fired during an incident on Monday afternoon. Police say a person called in saying that someone in a white van shot at them in the area of the Tudor block of North 10th Street. Officers later located a white van in the area of 1st Avenue North and 13th Street. Fort Dodge police say they did remove 3 pellet guns from inside that van, but no charges directly related to shots being fired has been filed. The driver of the van, Daniel Freeman of Fort Dodge, was charged with driving with a barred driver's license. Police say the case remains under investigation. Webster City has hired a new city manager. Jeffrey Sheridan currently is the town manager of Lowell, Indiana, and has over 25 years' experience in local government in Indiana. Callahan Municipal Consultants was hired by the city back in March to conduct a search for a new city manager after Daniel Ortiz Hernandez resigned last summer to take a position in California. 22 people applied for the job, with 9 candidates being interviewed and 3 finalists being chosen last month. The council approved Sheridan's hire at their meeting on Monday night with an annual starting salary of $115,000. He'll begin his new duties on August 26th. The state of Iowa collected over $500 million more in taxes during the last 12 months than during the previous fiscal year. OK Henderson with more.
Fiscal year 2019 for the state of Iowa ended Sunday. Preliminary figures indicate tax revenue growth was ahead of expectations by nearly $100 million. In total, the state of Iowa took in more than $9.3 billion in taxes and fees during the past 12 months. Officials say it's hard to estimate how much of the tax windfall is due to higher wages in Iowa and how much is due to a change in a state income tax deduction. Iowans get a deduction on their state income taxes for federal income taxes paid. That deduction has declined because of the tax cuts enacted at the federal level. The phased-in state income tax cuts Republican lawmakers approved in 2018 started to take effect in January of this year, halfway through the state's fiscal year. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley says U.S. agencies on the southern border are becoming really strained by trying to accommodate the skyrocketing numbers of immigrants. Grassley, a Republican, says the dramatic increase in immigrants is resulting in a corresponding rise in cases of their exploitation and death.
We must do more to enforce our immigration laws, but we must also meet the humanitarian needs on this ongoing crisis.
Grassley says he joined the majority of his colleagues last week in voting for legislation designed to bring relief to the beleaguered masses on the U.S.-Mexican border. Grassley says he's supporting civil bills aimed at keeping migrant families together and to prevent the abuse or exploitation of children who arrive at the border unaccompanied by an adult. And the June survey of business leaders in Iowa and 8 other Midwestern states signals positive growth for the region over the next 3 to 6 months. Ernie Goss, an economist at Creighton University, says while things are starting to pick up after several down months, international trade troubles continue to cloud the regional and national outlooks. Says tariffs restrict buying from abroad, and a lot of the supply managers are finding it more expensive to buy from abroad. Goss says the hiring for the region's manufacturing sector for June was up significantly.
The number one challenge over the next 12 months is finding and hiring qualified workers due to almost record low unemployment rates in most of the region. 40% of the supply managers indicated that was their number one challenge.
Still, according to the June survey, better than 71% of supply managers supported continuing current tariffs on China or even raising them. That's a look at local news. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. High of 86. West winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tonight. Lows level off around 69. Overcast. More clouds than sun. Tomorrow, chance for isolated storms. Highs level off around 86. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 86.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 1.5 at 413.5. September up 3.5 at 419. December up 3.5 at 426. March up 3 cents at 434 3/4. July soybeans down 9 1/4 at 876 1/4. August down a dime at 879 3/4. September down 10 1/4 at 886. November down 9 3/4 at 898 3/4. July milk down a dime at 1737. Soybean meal down 130 a ton at 303.50. August live cattle unchanged at 104.10. October down 17 at 105.35. August feeder cattle up 135 at 138.37. September up $1.20 to 138.82. July lean hogs up 115 at 73.72. August up 27 at 78.97. October down 15 at 73.05. I am Dwayne Murley.
When you're at Fort Frenzy, Wednesday, July 3rd, for the community fireworks celebration, make sure you stick around for the spectacular Lights of Glory presentation. Tune in to Iowa's favorite country, K97, for this special patriotic musical event. Be there to witness a spectacular fireworks show with synchronized patriotic music broadcast live on K97. Lights of Glory, a special patriotic presentation, is brought to you by More Bonding, J Material Handling, Riley Armstrong Plumbing, Victory Motors, and Alpha Media.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, no need to suck. I mean, all you have to do is radio on to AM 1400 KVFD. That's all there is to it. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, of course, and with me is Jeremy Taylor, who is a candidate for the 4th Congressional District. Mr. Taylor is from Sioux City, and we welcome him to the program. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on, Mike.
Not a problem. You're up against some big dogs here in the Congressional 4th. Steve King's the incumbent, of course. He's been there quite a while. He's very well known. Randy Feenstra also has announced his candidacy. Randy's been a state senator from the Congressional 4th for a long time. I've known State Senator Feenstra for a while, and he's a high-energy guy. Is that a daunting task that you've taken on?
It's not, in the sense that we believe we have a great campaign that's started out of the gates with a lot of grassroots support. And so we're looking forward to the challenge. We realize it's 39 counties wide, but we've been in tough fights before, and we've won and overcome. So we're looking forward to it.
What's your background, Mr. Taylor?
I am a United States Army chaplain with the National Guard. I was actually headquartered in Fort Dodge for nearly 6 years there at the Field Artillery Battalion. I started off as a high school and college English teacher for nearly 10 years and met my wife on a Christian mission while teaching at a university in Vietnam. And we also run a small business together. I have a history of good conservative governance by having been in the state legislature for 2 years and earned a 100% ranking from the American Conservative Union and an A rating from the NRA. And most recently, I'm in my second term on the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors.
What prompted you to run for this seat?
Well, I've always supported Congressman King and have often considered him a conservative ally. But I'm worried that we are going to lose this seat if we stay with the current incumbent. And I take a look at the slim margin with which Congressman King won on election night, but also looked at areas like Webster County where he lost and Governor Reynolds won. I looked at my own county, Mike, where I won on election night in Woodbury with 19,000 votes. Steve King lost our county with 15,000 votes, 4,000 vote differentiation. So my worry is looking at the current landscape with what's going on in the House of Representatives with Nancy Pelosi and Ilhan Omar and the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want us to take back the U.S. House of Representatives. And I believe that if we have Steve King as our nominee, we're going to lose. And that slim election margin of 3.3% was before we lost a seat at the committee table, before Steve King was denied a seat on Air Force One in a partnership with the president. And so my hope is to make sure that we not only keep the seat in Republican hands, but also have an authentic conservative. And I got into this race when I saw Randy Feenstra actually go on CNN to attack Steve King and be an ally sort of the left. And so that's my goal, is to make sure that we have the seat in Republican hands, but also that we have a conservative with a track record who can govern well.
I agree 100% that Steve King's in trouble. To beat somebody like J.D. Scholten, who has really no resume at all, to beat him by 3 points after that many years in the position is a wake-up call, and that's for sure. J.D. Scholten is a hard worker. I've met him. He's an all right guy. He's nobody I'd ever support politically, but King should have crushed him, and he didn't.
Right.
He barely got away with his seat. I mean, he beat Christy Vilsack by 10 percentage points, and that was a full court press some years ago by the Democratic Party. So, yeah, something's changed in the congressional fourth.
I have a history, Mike, of running in difficult races and winning. Done that in Woodbury County twice on the County Board of Supervisors, helping to turn around a board that was held by Democrats for some 3 decades. I've done so in a state house seat that a Republican hadn't won for over 15 years. And so we believe that we have a campaign that has momentum and optimism. And what we take a look at is that there was over $114,000 worth of money that had previously gone to Congressman King, and conservatives are coming over to our side because we aren't going to go on CNN, on Don Lemon, as Randy Feenstra did, and try to beat up on Steve King. We're not going to do that. We are looking to take that conservative baton or the mantle of leadership and to make sure that it's an effective voice that can win.
I'm a little surprised, and our guest is Jeremy Taylor here at AM 1400 KVFD. I'm a little surprised to hear you describe Randy Feenstra as allied with the left somehow. I don't know Senator Feenstra that well. I mean, I just know him in passing, and I've spoken with him sometimes. He's a nice enough guy. But I've never heard him utter a liberal sentence in my life. What convinced you from that C-SPAN or CNN interview that he was allying himself kind of to the left of center?
Well, I think if your first instincts are to raise money in that venue, Randy Feenstra, as you said, is a nice guy, is a good family guy. Served together with him, so I want to make sure I say that from the beginning. But at the same time, I think that if we're going to have a conservative, and you can look at our records, I have an A rating from the American Conservative Union. He had a D+ when I was in session, and as I've overseen state government growth by over 24% in the last decade. And I think that if we're going to have a change, and that's what every election is looking toward,